All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off here. So first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for joining. My name is Tom Cullen, and I manage the ServiceNow practice over at EchoStore. Just a quick note, we are recording this session, so we will provide a copy of this session to everyone who joined. Please feel free to review or share internally. I'm joined here by my colleague, Paul Wydra, as well as Eric Schwartz and Dan Grady from the ServiceNow team. We do have some great content for everyone today, and we were lucky to be able to secure Dan to walk us through the ITSM Pro overview and demo. So just a quick view, Dan, if you want to move that slide to the next slide 2. So this is just a quick view of the agenda today. So we're going to go through introductions as we just did. We'll go through a quick practice update and then a few minutes on the platform itself, and then we'll kick right into the demo. And we'll talk about why and what of ITSM Pro and what does that mean. We'll go through a virtual agent overview, and then we'll get into agent intelligence and the overview there. And then we'll go through a quick demonstration of these two components. And then we'll go through performance analytics and continual improvement management, and then finish up with a quick demonstration. During this time, if there are any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat, and we will answer those as we see fit throughout the presentation. So from an EchoStore perspective, just a quick update on the practice. So our ServiceNow practice is the fastest growing in our organization today. The practice now makes up roughly 20% of our company's staff, which is wild considering we started this 4 years ago, and it's been a great growth area for our organization. We do continue to invest in building out the organization, and that's inclusive of both pre-sales and post-sales capabilities, because at the end of the day, our goal is really to provide the best service at all times. So whether that's when you're evaluating the technology or actually during the implementation phase itself. So we actually began working in the ITSM and ITOM space, as I mentioned, roughly 4 years ago, and have rapidly expanded across a number of other areas in the platform as well, today supporting areas like ITBM, CSM, and HR, to name a few. And our goal, right, is, as I mentioned earlier, we continue to work to bring the best possible service to our customers and always welcome feedback to increase our customer satisfaction. That's the most important part of what we do from a practice perspective. And so with that being said, I know there are a number of our customers on the line, so we do want to thank you and tell you we truly appreciate your partnership. And Dan, if you want to go ahead and click into the next slide, we're going to spend just a couple of minutes talking through the ServiceNow platform. And so before Dan begins, I just want to talk about what the state of the state is. Now, I know many of the folks on the line have been ServiceNow customers for a number of years and can probably remember the original wheel as being a lot smaller than what you see here. But I think it's important to note that although we are going to be speaking about the enhancements in the ITSM space, ServiceNow has spent an extensive amount of time over the years expanding from being just an IT service management company to really being a true enterprise, enterprise service management company. So as you can see from the extensive wheel that we have here today, they've moved far beyond IT and now are becoming an integral part of other divisions within organizations, such as areas of HR, customer service, and governance and risk, to name a few. But through this expansion, it's also important to note that ServiceNow focuses on two things with every single release. The first is enhanced end-user experience, and the second is increased efficiency. So over the past few releases, they've improved the user experience with areas like their mobile application, as well as admin and service portal capabilities, and really with the goal of continuing to strive to make the interactions with technology at work as easy as it is at home. They've also increased the efficiencies on the back end by infusing machine learning and AI capabilities, as well as enhancing the capabilities for organizations to seamlessly support integrations within the platform with things like Flow Designer and Integration Hub. So again, there is a ton of things that are going on with the platform, but I know we are here to discuss the ITSM Pro updates. So again, quick housekeeping before Dan begins his presentation. Everyone is on mute, so if you do have any questions, please go ahead and put those in the chat. and we will answer those throughout the presentation as well as at the end. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And now we'll go ahead and turn it over to Dan to go ahead and give the presentation.
Sure. Thanks, Tom. So just to kind of dovetail off of what Tom had just mentioned there, as we talk to customers like yourselves, there's a couple of consistent themes that we hear across the customer base. First and foremost is centered around velocity. You're all being asked to do more quickly, and you're looking for ways to increase the speed in which work gets done inside of the organization. The second key theme that we hear all the time is centered around intelligence, this tremendous volume of data that's being generated on a daily basis. We're all looking to harness that data and provide more intelligent solutions for our customers and employees. And both of these two imperatives around velocity and intelligence, they feed into the ultimate goal, which is creating and providing better experiences for those customers and employees that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Now, traditionally, there's been some inhibitors to those experiences that we're trying to roll out to those two target audiences. One has been that constant reliance on manual resolutions for routine requests and work that are coming in. Another inhibitor has typically been that huge amount of time and money that we waste on repetitive tasks, things that a machine should probably be doing that we're spending time on. Anything that a human takes about a second to do, we should be able to automate that thing and free that human up to focus on more important or valuable work. And then the last thing that's been a burden for all time, if you will, is that we're constantly feeling like we're in this reactive mode, right? We don't find out about things until it's too late, and we're putting out that fire rather than preventing that fire. There's some new modern approaches that we're going to be talking about today to get us past these inhibitors that we've traditionally faced. We'll be focusing some attention on how can we more intelligently deflect those routine things that are coming in, and how can we start using that massive amount of data that we have access to start accelerating resolutions with things like machine learning. And then what we'll wrap up on some capabilities that we have inside of the platform to help us more proactively identify and deliver service improvements and get us out of that firefighting mode and put us more in that preventative mode. And in order to accomplish these three things, what we've done on the ServiceNow platform is we've bundled together a number of capabilities into what we're calling the ITSM Professional Bundle. The first capability that we'll spend time on here today is the virtual agent, which is our in-platform chatbot that allows us to provide our customers and for you to provide your employees and customers an always-on 24/7 chatbot experience to help you scale the service that you're offering your customers. We'll spend some time on what we call Agent Intelligence, the brand name that we've given our in-platform machine learning engine that we offer customers. And that machine learning engine is a platform capability that allows you to start predicting the category that an incident should belong in, or predicting the assignment group, or recommending to your agents existing open or resolved incidents to help them streamline that path to resolution for the end user or the consumer. We'll spend some time talking about performance analytics, which is our in-platform analytics engine that's designed to help us align all the stakeholders that are focused on providing certain business outcomes to those outcomes and give them visibility into the levers they can be pulling inside of the organization to help them reach those outcomes more efficiently. And then lastly, we'll spend some time talking about continual improvement management, which is an out-of-the-box application that helps us kind of get a handle around all the different improvement initiatives we have inside of the organization and help us drive them towards completion. These four capabilities are the things that you get with the ITSM Professional Bundle. And in addition to that, something that's become more important more recently is you get the ability to leverage 50 additional custom tables on the platform as well when you upgrade to the professional SKU. So these are the four things we'll be talking about here today. We're going to take them individually, but as I'll point out as I go through this, that these are all very complementary capabilities. They all enhance one another, and you're going to get more value when you start using them in combination. And then you'll see a number of different use cases where that is true as I go through the rest of the slides and then the demonstrations itself. So let's focus in on that intelligently deflect with the virtual agent. And where is this? You probably get 30 emails a day that have something to do with a virtual agent or a chatbot of some sort. And bots are taking over the world. You've probably seen in a number of different articles. And where is this coming from? Well, it can all stem back to what is known as the rise of the conversational interface. And that, it sounds almost like a bad Game of Thrones episode, but let's just walk through this rise of the conversational interface and where we are today. If you think about it, way back when, if you wanted to interact with a machine or a computer, you had to know very specific syntax to make the machine do anything. And that was a big inhibitor to actually people interacting and using computers to get more work done. Then we moved to an age in which we had this graphical user interface, right? It gave people something they were more familiar with and allowed them to interact with a computer in a more friendly way, and that lowered the barrier to entry. We're moving to a world today in which you no longer need to know the specific syntax. In fact, now, instead of the human having to learn how to interact with the computers are starting to have to learn how to interact with us through these conversational interfaces, these messaging applications that are essentially becoming the new home screen for many people that are out there. And if you look at the consumer world, these messaging applications and chatbots are being used in three very specific ways. The first use case is they're primarily being used to help us retrieve information. So I could go to a chatbot within a messaging interface, type a question, and get an answer back. Another primary use case is to use chatbots to start gathering information in a much more streamlined and friendly way than just a standard form that could potentially be confusing to an end user. So the dialogue walks you through the different states, different questions, and gathers the relevant information designed to help fulfill a very specific task, which leads us to the last and probably the most valuable use case when it comes to chatbots, and that's the automated fulfillment of work. Right, that's the main goal, is to be able to completely automate an entire process from the information gathering stage to the fulfillment of that request or piece of work that somebody's entering in there. The best example in the consumer world that I've seen of a chatbot and providing value is with a Department of Motor Vehicles down south that I was working with recently. And what they now have is the ability to allow a citizen to completely renew their driver's license all through the chatbot. So they go to a chatbot, the chatbot comes up and says, hey, do you have these 4 pieces of information? If you don't have these 4 pieces of information you need to complete the task, you'll have to come back. And once you have those 4 pieces of information, what it does is it walks that person or that citizen through the information gathering steps, gathers all the relevant information, and then completely automates the fulfillment process of gathering that new license. No more does that person have to go to the DMV, take that number 98, wait online for 6 hours, get to the desk, and only get to the desk and realize that they don't have all the information they need and they have to come back in a couple of hours and wait again. That experience has completely been revamped, and it's a streamlined process is getting high satisfaction rates in that state that it's involved in. So those 3 use cases, we can bring that same consumer experience to the workplace. And if we are able to bring that chatbot-like experience to the workplace, it can help us do 3 very important things. First and foremost, automate tasks. And the more we can automate tasks, the more costs we can reduce. And by automating those tasks, we can also reduce inaccuracies, which improves the quality of the services that we're both delivering to our employees and our customers. By leveraging the chatbot, we can augment staff. We can use the chatbot to handle those routine requests that are constantly coming in, freeing our agents up to work on more complex or interesting work, improving their overall productivity. And then lastly, by bringing that chatbot experience via the virtual agent to our enterprise, we can empower our employees with more self-service options, provide them with an always-on 24/7 support option on a day-to-day basis, and a very familiar interface, a conversational interface that's becoming more familiar to people that are coming into the workplace on an everyday basis. Now, with this pro SKU that you're going to be getting, one of the things that we constantly strive for when we offer up capabilities to our customers is to provide you with out-of-the-box content. And what we offer up our customers when it comes to the virtual agent is some pre-built conversations that are aligned to some of the most common things people are looking to use chatbots, or in our case, the virtual agent for inside of their enterprises. So things like opening an IT ticket, ordering an item, checking the status of a ticket, maybe resetting a password or processing an approval. These are all things, common tasks that you do on a day-to-day basis that you can now deliver to people, or the ability to complete via a virtual agent type experience. And these are pre-built ones. And as I've been out there working with our customer base, I consistently ask them, hey, you're investigating using a chatbot inside of your organization. Can you give me some examples of the use cases that you're trying to solve with the chatbot or support with the chatbot? And customer after customer consistently comes back with the things that you're looking at on the screen here. So there's a lot of value in these pre-built conversations that we're offering. And as always, we continue to add to this library to help you jumpstart you on your journey with this type of technology in your organization. In addition to that, for those scenarios in which we don't have an out-of-the-box conversation for you, we offer you the ability in a user interface like this, something we call the topic designer, to start authoring your own conversations without writing code. So we give you out-of-the-box content, and then to augment that and help you get further down the path, we give you an in-platform designer to help you build out these conversations. It's a powerful tool. With the customers that I've been working with, those of customers that have investigated off-platform bots, what they've come back with is this designer is a huge step forward for them, and it makes things a lot easier, and it streamlines the process to rolling out new conversations inside of their organization. If we look at chatbots in general, there's three core things that are important if you want to have a successful bot rollout inside of your organizations, and I want to touch on those to help give you some guidance. First and foremost is, as you start rolling out chatbots or the virtual agent inside of your organization, to be successful, you need to be available in multiple clients. Right? To raise the adoption of a chatbot, you need to be where the people are. And to that end, what we offer from a ServiceNow perspective is not just the ability to access the chatbot via, let's say, the service portal, but you can access it via mobile devices. And then if you're using any of the enterprise messaging apps like Facebook Workplace, Microsoft Teams, or Slack, we have pre-built integrations to help you enable the virtual agent inside of those channels as well, exposing it to as many people as possible inside of the organization. It's important to be where the people are to scale out this offering. The second piece that's important to a successful bot rollout is always to give your users or your bot access to meaningful domain-specific data. If you think about a chatbot experience, the less you have to ask the user for, the more streamlined the conversation is going to be, the better experience the end user is going to have. By using the ServiceNow platform, you have a tremendous amount of domain-specific data about the people and the assets that they have access to that are going to be interacting with the virtual agent. You know where the people are. You know what assets they have. You know what service requests or catalog requests they have open already. You know their location. You know the status of all these different services that they're going to be interacting with. That is all data that you can use to streamline the conversation and provide a better chatbot experience for the end user. And because you're leveraging the in-platform virtual agent, you have seamless access to all of that data. In some scenarios, there may be data that you want to use to augment that conversation that doesn't live on the ServiceNow platform, but you also have the platform's integration capabilities to allow you to access that and embed that data right inside of the virtual agent conversations you're going to be rolling out. It's a huge advantage. And then the last thing that's important to provide a successful bot experience is the ability to transfer it to a live agent. No bot is perfect. It's not going to be able to solve every problem that an end user has. You want to have that ability to augment that chat experience with the ability to seamlessly transfer to a live agent, because the ultimate goal is to get that end user to resolution. So if the bot can't do it on its own, you want to give them the option to be able to get there via another means. In this case, is a human being or a live agent. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, is this. I always like to remind people about the real purpose of a chatbot or the virtual agent. It's to get something done for the end user, to get them to a resolution. Very often when we're talking about chatbots or virtual agents, there's so much focus on the natural language understanding portion or the chat experience and how to get that to work properly. But the reality is this. Chatbot is almost a misnomer. Nobody goes to a bot just to chat and just to have a conversation. If you just wanted to chat with somebody, I could recommend several good therapists and you could pay them $1,000 an hour. Nobody just wants to chat. They want to get something done. And there is no better platform in the world at getting work done for end users, employees, customers than the ServiceNow platform. The virtual agent just becomes another face or another way in which you allow people to interact with this powerful platform that you're seeing on the screen here. And it seamlessly leverages all the work that you've already put into providing those experiences for your customers and allows you to scale those out. So it's able to leverage all that work that you've put into the CMDB. It's able to leverage all that great work you've put into building out the knowledge base, all the work that you've done in standing up that service catalog, or all the workflows that you've built. The virtual agent harnesses all of this, all this great work that you've already done, and then exposes it and scales it out for anyone that's interacting with the platform and allows you to scale that service. It's a huge value add, this seamless integration with this platform, with the platform that we offer. And there's some other capabilities that the platform offers that the virtual agent's able to link into that I want to dive into. The one that I want to focus on today is that in-platform machine learning capability, the agent intelligence piece. There's a relationship between these two that really helps streamline the path to resolution. So let's just take a couple minutes to focus in on the machine learning capability that the Pro SKU, the Pro package for ITSM gets you. All right, if you think about what machine learning is, there's two flavors of machine learning that you'll typically hear about. One is supervised machine learning, and what that's all about is allowing you to take historical data in which you have a defined outcome for this data, use that to train a predictive model. All right, and now as new inputs come in, you're able to predict a certain outcome. We've used this supervised approach in the classification framework that we have on the platform, and we'll just touch on that in a little more detail in a second. And then there's another flavor of machine learning, and that's the unsupervised approach. And that's when you don't have specific outcomes and you throw a set of data at the machine learning engine, and what it does is comes back with some answers for you, some groupings, potentially, clustering. We offer both of these approaches on the ServiceNow platform, both supervised and unsupervised, and I'll walk you through the two flavors here. On the platform, and the machine learning is a platform component, and just like we do with the virtual agent, we offer some out-of-the-box configurations to take advantage of some platform capability that we provide. So the first capability we offer is something we call a classification framework. And what this allows us to do, the out-of-the-box offering allows us to do, is allows you to take your historical incidents and train that up, and based on the historical data, as new incidents come in, you're able to predict the category for that new incident and the assignment group for that new incident. And what that allows you to do is faster resolution time and provide better customer experiences. It reduces error rates. A lot of those business rules that you've built out and you spend so much time maintaining, this allows you to kind of move forward and eliminate some of that maintenance on a day-to-day basis. One of our customers that presented recently at Knowledge, Synovus, they've kind of applied this in their world, and they've recognized a 291% ROI in year one of rolling out this capability. That's the classification framework. It allows you to kind of take historical data and based on that historical data, predict an outcome. The second framework that we offer from a machine learning perspective is something called the similarity framework. And what we've done for our customers in this case, the out-of-the-box solutions that leverage this framework, there's four, if you will. The first two, what it allows you to do is provide an agent that's working an incident, similar open and recommended incidents that match or like the incident they're working on right now. If you think about your world, very rarely is there something that's happening for the very first time. So in order to eliminate a lot of the hunting and pecking that goes on as agents look for those similar cases to find a resolution, we simply surface these similar open or resolved cases right there in the workspace that the agent is engaged in on a daily basis, so they don't have to do that hunting and pecking anymore. We also use the similarity framework to start bundling together similar incidents and recommend that a major incident be opened, or recommend to the agent that there's an existing major incident that this incident they're working on should be applied to. All right, so the similarity framework and that classification framework, they're frameworks that you can apply in different ways on the platform, but just like we do in everything else, we give you some out-of-the-box offerings based on those frameworks to help you get started in using the capabilities. If you combine these two things together, this is one of those complementary examples that I mentioned at the beginning. The virtual agent and the machine learning capability, the agent intelligence capability, they're complementary to one another. the virtual agent is designed to drive self-service and enable self-service inside of the organization. But eventually, a piece of work is going to get past the goalie. And that's where the machine learning piece kicks in. Once that piece of work gets created, let's say an incident gets created via the virtual agent, the machine learning piece is going to pick up, and it's going to dynamically predict the category and the assignment group that that incident belongs in. It's also, when it gets to the agent, going to start making those recommendations about similar and open or resolved incidents. And all of that power, the machine learning, all that stuff that the machine learning is offering up there, that streamlines the resolution path and provides a better experience, not only for the agent, who would typically be doing those mundane things manually, but it also improves the experience for the end user because they're recognizing a streamlined path to resolution. So there's a relationship between the two. And what I'm going to do quickly now is just kind of demonstrate some of those out-of-the-box conversations that the virtual agent offers, and then I'll point out where the machine learning piece kicks in to help streamline that experience for the end user and the agent. Let's just jump over here and get into my service portal. We'll just take a real quick journey with my good friend Joe Employee here. And what Joe Employee is going to do right now, he's going to come over here. He's inside of his service portal, and right in the lower right-hand corner, he's going to see his little virtual agent icon there, and he's going to bring that virtual agent up. And what you'll notice inside of here, once I launch the virtual agent, is it says, how can I help you? And then right below that, there's a little button that says, hey, show me everything. All right, and this seems like a little thing, but it goes a long way from an experience perspective. One of the quickest ways to frustrate an end user working with a virtual agent or a chatbot is just to provide them with a box in which they can type in. And they could be typing for 5 minutes before the virtual agent ever recognizes what they're going to say. And they can go back and forth 5 or 6 times. And the next thing you know, the virtual agent says, you know what, I can't help you with that. What we like to do to provide a better experience for our customers is right up front, provide them with a list of the things that the virtual agent is capable of helping them with. You can also start typing right into here, and it will launch into any one of those conversations or topics that's there. So let's say Joe Employee, he's struggling with recovering some email, and he wants to search the knowledge base. So we can simply start typing how, and it will present to him, hey, you know what? You probably want to search the knowledge base. And he can come in here and he can say, you know what? I want some information from the knowledge base about deleted email. So right from the virtual agent, he's launched into a conversation that allows him to search the knowledge base. He's going to go out, take that string he just presented and pass it to the knowledge base and present him with some relevant articles. What we want to do with any virtual agent is ask if this information was helpful. That gets us a gauge of whether things are working or not and generate some data that we can use on the back end. And he can say, you know what, this is great, I'm done. So he's able to quickly search the knowledge base. Maybe he tried some of the recommendations in the knowledge base and he wasn't having much success. So now he wants to open a ticket. So right from here, he's going to say, I want to open an IT ticket. He'll ask for a short description and he'll say something like, you know what, I struggle with email recovery. First thing the virtual agent is going to try to do is going to try to deflect. Hey, here's some relevant knowledge articles that match what you're trying to do here. Are any of these articles helpful? Do they resolve your issue? In this case here, we're going to say no because we want to continue down the path of the conversation. And then the next thing the virtual agent is going to do is ask for an urgency. How urgent is your issue? And Joe, like the rest of us, is the most important person in the world, so he's going to say that his issue is high. And that's all that Joe needs to enter. And behind the scenes, the virtual agent is going to create that incident. Now, one of the things that I want to point out here is the incident that was created. If you look at this incident, it's been categorized and it's been assigned. Joe didn't have to enter that information, and that was way too quick for some human being behind the scenes to triage that and put it into those categories. That's an example of where the machine learning or the agent intelligence capability that comes with this Pro bundle comes into play by streamlining that experience for Joe and streamlining the experience for the agent on the other end, and that'll help speed the path to resolution. Now, Joe is super impatient, at least for the intention of this demo, so he wants to check the status of that incident. So right from here within the virtual agent, he can come in here and he's just going to say, I want to check the status. He can check the status of the ticket, and here's where some of that domain-specific data comes into play. It knows who Joe is, and it also knows that Joe has 7 open incidents and 23 requested items. He's really maximizing that service catalog. And which status would he like to check? Well, he wants to check on his incidents. So it'll go out, it'll get the incidents that belong to Joe, presents him back with that, and he can dive into any one of them. In this case, he wants to look at the one that he just opened up, and it'll get him the information around that, but then allow him to add or update or work with that incident and provide more information. So he wants to add a comment. In this case here, maybe he'll say something around, you know what, I'm looking for a PeopleSoft email I may have deleted. And I'll type that in, and now, you know what, Joe's patience is at an all-time low. He wants somebody to talk to. So what he's going to do now, he's going to come over here and he's going to contact support. And right from the virtual agent, he can transfer that to a live agent. And I'm going to hop over here. Once he says transfer, you know what, my good friend Beth, she's waiting there. She gets that live agent transfer. She's going to accept it. And the thing that I want to point out here is inside of this workspace in which Beth is working in which that chat got passed over, complete context. Everything that Joe just did with the virtual agent is passed over to Beth, so she has an understanding of how the conversation went so far, and she can use that context to help guide her in terms of where she wants to take this conversation. And she can see here a mention about PeopleSoft, and she knows that people have been asking about this knowledge article. So she'll come in here and she'll say, okay, you know what, Joe? Joe, check this out. KB 0010010. All right, she'll type that in, and if I come back over to Joe, Joe gets that knowledge article, and he can say thank you and end the conversation. Everything we just went through there inside of that virtual agent, those are all examples of those out-of-the-box pre-configured conversations. So today, in your instance, you upgrade to the Pro SKU. You want to take advantage of these types of experiences. All you have to do is turn on those pre-built content packs, and away you go. You're starting to use or rolling out a virtual agent inside of your organization. Obviously, if you want to do any tweaking to these conversations, you've got that topic designer that we talked about earlier. All right. That's the virtual agent, agent intelligence. Now, both of these capabilities, they're designed to improve things at work, to improve things inside of your organization. And they're both probably going to come over under a little bit of scrutiny. People are going to want to know whether they're working or not. And that's when the in-platform analytics capability, the performance analytics capability comes in, right? The performance analytics that we give you, what it's designed to do is help you communicate in the organization whether things are working or not. And there's some tremendous advantages you get by leveraging an in-platform analytics solution like performance analytics. First and foremost is real-time access to information. Right? By using an in-platform analytics engine, anytime you see an anomaly, a trend, something that doesn't seem right inside of the data that you're looking at, you always have the ability in real time to drill down and get to the detailed records and then take action on them. It's a huge advantage. Your traditional approaches to analytics in which you're pulling data off an operational system and storing them in some sort of third-party data warehouse or database, they add a layer of latency to the data. And anytime you add latency to data, the data becomes a little bit less actionable, right? You kind of slow the improvement process down. There's a big benefit to leveraging real-time access to information on the platform. The second advantage you get by using an in-platform analytics engine is this, we'll call it native here. And what this native means is three things ultimately. One, here at ServiceNow, we understand the different areas in which we roll out applications, the different clouds that we focus in on. So we understand things that are important to people in the HR space, inside of the customer service space, inside of the IT space. It's about the understanding of what other customers like yourselves are trying to do on the ServiceNow platform, the outcomes that they're trying to achieve. And then it's our understanding of the infrastructure and the data model on the platform. And what our collective understanding of these three things allows us to do is present you, our customers, with a slew of out-of-the-box pre-configured analytics content. So as of the Madrid release, we offer our customers 650 plus pre-configured key performance indicators and metrics across the different modules on the platform. And we offer 150 plus different dashboards across those different modules as well. And what this out-of-the-box content is meant to do is meant to jumpstart you on your analytics journey on the platform. It's a huge advantage because most of our customers are looking to track and measure similar things. Just to give you an example, one of my customers had a third-party consulting agency come in and do an analysis of what the right KPIs would be for their organization. And 85% of what that consulting agency came back with, we had already provided our customers out of the box from a pre-configured standpoint. It's a huge win to leverage that content. And the last benefit you get by using an in-platform analytics solution is all around the security of the data. With the in-platform solution, we're going to leverage all that great security work that you've already done. So as people start seeing trends, patterns, and anomalies in the data, and they start drilling into the details, you will always maintain that security. They'll always be able to only see data that they're supposed to see. If for some crazy reason you choose to move data off the platform to analyze it, you're going to have to rebuild some layer of security around that data to maintain its integrity and make sure that people can only see what they're supposed to see. So these three core things are three benefits you should get from any in-platform analytics solution, and you certainly get it from the in-platform solution we offer called Performance Analytics. In addition to those three aspects, Performance Analytics adds adds more value to the data on the platform by adding more context to the data. Context in three specific ways: time, influence, and people, and we'll quickly walk through these three. The time one is probably the most important one. If you're one of those customers out there that's been saying to yourself, I really don't know the difference between what I get with the reporting on the platform and Performance Analytics, and you said, Dan, you get one slide to communicate the difference, this is that one slide. The reporting on the platform that you're familiar with today is great at answering this one very specific question. Where are we today? Where are we right now? I mean, for so many operational use cases, that's an important data point. But if I came to any one of you and said, you know, you have 118 open incidents right now, and asked whether that number was good or that number was bad, you wouldn't necessarily have the data points needed to answer that question accurately. What Performance Analytics brings is the engine, the infrastructure to start snapshotting data over time. So you can not only answer where you are today, but you also have the data you need to answer where you were before. And now that I have those two data points, I can ask and answer the most important question, which is, did we improve or not? Right? You're making the investment in the ServiceNow platform to improve the way that you're doing things. Right? You want to be able to communicate to people that those improvements are taking place. Performance Analytics gives you the data you need to do that. In addition to that, Performance Analytics brings the infrastructure to start setting targets and goals related to the metrics that are important to your organization, so you can communicate to folks inside of the organization where you want to be and where you want to get to. You also get a forecasting engine, so you can forecast out when you will potentially reach those goals. And then you also get the ability to look into different slices of the data, so you get an understanding of what levers you can be pulling in the organization to reach those goals in a more efficient fashion. So all of these other bubbles above and beyond where we are today, Performance Analytics brings the infrastructure and the engine to allow you to start asking and answering these questions. The best analogy I've ever heard to describe the difference between the two is one of my colleagues once said, you know, reporting is kind of like the scoreboard at a game. It tells you the home team is up 28-27. It tells you how much time is left, how many timeouts each team has. But what it doesn't tell you is this. It doesn't tell you that the home team was up 28-0 and the visitors just scored 27 straight points. It doesn't tell you that the home team's best player just got hurt 2 minutes ago. It gives you no visibility into the momentum inside of the game. And you would hope, unless you're the Atlanta Falcons, you would coach or manage that game differently based on the momentum. The same is true with our businesses. You will manage your business more effectively if you get visibility into the momentum. Performance Analytics brings that visibility. Now, in addition to that time or context of time, Performance Analytics also gives us the ability to start building relationships and visualizing relationships between the metrics that we're tracking. And what these relationships allow us to do is move out of that reactive mode and move us into a more proactive mode of managing our business. Because anything that you're going to be measuring in isolation, you're always going to be reacting to. But if you can start bringing things together, you start seeing trends and patterns and how they influence one another, you start making changes before it's too late. And just to give you a real quick example of how this kind of chain of influencing metrics can play out, let's look at something like improving our NPS score or our CSAT scores, which is something that every organization is looking to do. Well, what are things that we can measure that actually influence that? Well, if we reduce our mean time to resolve, that should have a positive impact on our ESAT or NPS score. So let's focus in on that metric. In this case here, lowering my mean time to resolve would be a leading indicator to my NPS scores. But then as we move out inside of the organization, there's things that we can start measuring and tracking that actually influence or impact our mean time to resolve. Right, if I want to start lowering my mean time to resolve, I should start focusing in on incidents that hadn't been worked on in 5 days. That's a metric that's important to me. There's these chain of metrics inside of the organization things that we can focus on that influence one another. What performance analytics allows us to do is start looking at those things in combination and become a more proactive organization. And then the last aspect of context that we focus on with performance analytics is this context of people. The goal here is to align all the stakeholders in the organization to the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. But the real trick in doing that is I want to make sure that I give each of these stakeholders the right lens into that information. I can't take an executive level dashboard, which is what most people tend to focus on, roll it out to somebody on the front lines and expect that it's going to influence their behavior in any way, shape, or form. And the dirty little secret of analytics is this. The numbers on those executive dashboards that we all focus on so heavily, they don't move just because we have executive level dashboards. Those numbers only start to move when we start influencing and driving the behaviors of all the other stakeholders involved in contributing to those. So what we do with performance analytics is we provide information in the context of all these different stakeholders' day-to-day lives, and information that will drive and move their performance or influence their performance. And that's what I want to do in this quick demonstration here, is I want to give you some examples of how we can start using performance analytics and influencing behaviors of different stakeholders inside of the organization. So I'm going to quickly log out here and just log in as someone else and show you a couple of dashboards. And we'll start at that executive level. Whoops. On the service portal. Now, if we think about executive level dashboards, the goal of an executive level dashboard is to provide that holistic view into the health of the business that executive is responsible for. So I'm going to bring up just one example of an IT executive level dashboard here. And what you'll see in this dashboard is across the top of the screen, so we take some of those high level areas of business or business outcomes that they're focused on. Maybe it's improving service availability, reducing the cost of the service that they're delivering, or improving customer satisfaction. And across the top of that screen, I give them visibility not only to where they stand right now as it relates to those metrics, but where they stand related to the targets or the goals that they set forth for the organization in those different areas as well. And then as I move down the screen, we give them visibility into some trends around metrics that are actually influencing or contributing to those higher level goals that we set forth. And then as I move even further down the screen, I give that executive visibility into the different contributing factors, the things that are influencing that high-level number, the ones that are contributing most or less, just so they get some guidance in terms of where they should focus on remediation efforts. So on one single screen, we give them visibility into where they stand right now, their momentum, and the different contributing factors. And then there's this example here. I mentioned that context of influence a little bit earlier. I just want to focus in on this one example that's very popular in our customer base. Many of our customers are using the knowledge base. And the idea behind the knowledge base is to drive self-service, shift left and shift down. And a metric that people would be focused on there if they're rolling out knowledge is knowledge adoption. That's what this yellow line would represent. How often is the knowledge base being used? But if you think about that, that's just an influencing factor. What's the overall goal? Well, the overall goal of knowledge is to reduce the volume of incoming cases or tickets, and also to improve our mean time to resolve. Because if I improve that mean time to resolve, that improves my satisfaction scores. So why not start layering these metrics on the same visual to tell a more complete story with that data? That's that one example of that context of influence that performance analytics allows us to provide our customers. Now, this is a high-level executive dashboard. If we move out, let's say, to an incident process owner or a service owner dashboard, let's come on out here. You'll notice the first thing about this dashboard is going to look a little bit different than an executive level dashboard. Why? Because as a different stakeholder in the organization, I'm responsible for different things. They're going to contribute to that overall goal and the numbers on the executive level dashboards, but these are the things that I can influence. I want to make sure we give people access to information that they believe they can influence. So as an incident process owner or a service desk owner, I would care about my backlog. All right, and here's my backlog score, and I'll point out here that this says real time. One of the benefits to being that in-platform analytics solution is we have real-time access to information. So if somebody were to open a new incident on this instance, that number would go from 535 to 536 without me having to refresh the screen. And then on any one of these widgets or dashboards you see, the user always has the ability out of the box to drill into that and get to what is known as the analytics hub, a detailed view around everything that's important to that metric. So they get a lot of information, kind of like everything that metric is involved in. So for example, this blue line, this is my backlog over time. This yellow line here, this is the overall trend for the time period that I'm focused at. This dotted line is the forecasted value, so my backlog forecasted out into the future, and this black line is the target line that we're trying to meet from a backlog perspective. What you'll notice on this screen here is that I've got comments, so I have the ability here not only to set targets for a metric, but I can add commentary. So if the process changes or something happens and I want to communicate to people in the organization why the trend is moving in a different direction, I can do that right from here. Maybe I want to set a threshold and get notified if this KPI hits an all-time high, an all-time low, or is less than or more than a certain value. I can do that right from this screen as well. Maybe I want to get down to those detailed records and take action on them. So I can start looking at my backlog, and right from here, I can get to the records, drill into them, and we'll start working on those records. Or maybe I want to start looking into different slices of this data. Maybe I want to look at my backlog by priority or look at it by category. This will help me identify those opportunities to improve the service that I'm delivering or where I should focus my backlog efforts in terms of reducing my backlog. Again, this is all out-of-the-box capability here that you get with performance analytics and is available on any one of the metrics that you see on the screen here. That seamless drill down into more detailed data and allow us to start understanding and taking action on that data. Also on this screen here, I've got two other metrics, my first call resolution rate and my mean time to resolve. This is another good example of that context of influence. They have a relationship on top of each other. And then this last one that I'll point out on the screen here is this backlog trend. Right? One of the things people use performance analytics for is to get an understanding of their backlog. And in this case here, if we were only looking at our backlog in isolation, guess what? We'd all be high-fiving each other because we've reduced our backlog by 30 to 40% over the last month. But if I simply come in here and I layer the average age of open incidents on top of that, guess what? The data now tells me a completely different story. At the same time we're reducing our backlog, the average age was continuing to rise. Right? That's usually an indication of one of two things. One, we're motivating people to reduce the backlog. So what happened? Well, human nature took over and they started cherry-picking the easy cases, leaving the harder, more complex ones sitting out there to age. Or two, maybe you have a data quality issue. Maybe we have some machine-generated incidents that aren't getting assigned properly and they're just sitting out there aging. In either one of those cases, what can I do? Well, I could drill in just like you saw before and see what was contributing to my aging issues. But probably the more important thing is this. When these older incidents start closing, what's going to be the influence on my mean time to resolve? That's going to be negatively impacted. And then what's going to be the influence on that CSAT score on my executives level dashboard? That's going to be negatively impacted. Everything we do inside of the organization is interconnected in some way, shape, or form. What performance analytics allows us to do is visualize and communicate those relationships so everybody knows where they should be focusing their attention and drives the behaviors forward. Now the last piece here, I know we're running out of time, but I want to make sure I get out to the most neglected person when it comes to the analytics, and that's those folks on the front lines. Your traditional approaches to analytics failed to reach these people. Business intelligence tools for the past 30 years, their adoption rates hover around the 20 to 30% range, and it's because they can't get out to the operational folks. The further you get out in an organization, the less likely you are to get people to leave the system they're doing work in to go to an analytics system or some other place to look at numbers. So what we're able to do on the ServiceNow platform is embed analytics like these trends related to the things this team is being measured against, with the operational work that needs to be done. That's that list here in the middle. And I want to point out this one specific piece here. You'll notice that this list of open incidents, this backlog of incidents, let's say, is prioritized by a score. What this score is something we call Spotlight. And what Spotlight allows us to do is take multiple aspects of a certain record and weight them differently to create a more holistic score that we can use for prioritization. So in this example here, this incident moved to the top of the list of where I should be focusing my attention because it got a score of 2,400. That score of 2,400 came from 9 different factors. This incident got 1,000 points because it hadn't been updated in 30 days. Another 1,000 because it's got user impact. Another 100 because it was been reassigned more than 3 times. So these things together, the analytics engine kind of raised that incident top of the list because all these things together made it the most important thing for this analyst or this service desk worker to be focusing in on. That's just one of the many analytics capabilities that performance analytics brings to the table to help us start influencing the behaviors of the people on the front lines. And it's those behavioral changes that'll start moving the metrics on those executive level dashboards. All right, that's the quick performance analytics introduction. Obviously, there's a lot of other areas we can focus in on, but I do want to tie it back real quickly to the things that we focused on earlier. You notice I mentioned at the very beginning that these pro bundle capabilities, they complement each other. One of those complementary areas is we offer an out-of-the-box dashboard focused on the virtual agent. So you get to start getting an understanding in the organization of the adoption, usage, and quality of the virtual agent topics or conversations you're rolling out inside of the organization. That helps you kind of understand which topics you want to focus on improving or which departments you might want to market the virtual agent capability to more. The other thing you can start leveraging the analytics engine to do is to help identify new topics that you might want to roll out. What are some of the top search terms that we're seeing that aren't producing results? What are some of the top incidents that are coming in that are being resolved on the first contact? Those are all good areas to start targeting virtual agent conversations and eliminating some mundane or repetitive work that agents are starting to handle. And then ultimately where you would apply performance analytics when it comes to the virtual agent or potentially agent intelligence. So AI, ML, chatbots, those are areas that are got a lot of attention and potentially some scrutiny. What we're able to do with performance analytics is start communicating that those things that we've rolled out, these new capabilities, are actually starting to make a difference from a CSAT perspective. We're actually starting to see a shift from the more expensive channels to the more cost-effective channels, like the virtual agents, right? So you want to be able to communicate to folks in the organization that they're getting value out of these investments. The performance analytics piece helps us do that. Now, the last component of that pro bundle, the professional bundle that we've been talking about, is the continual improvement management application. Right? And what that allows us to do is, as we start seeing some of these negative trends or some of these things inside of these dashboards that we want to improve, it provides an end-to-end framework or a structured approach to allow us to start rolling out, reviewing, and coordinating on top of improvement initiatives that we want to run. So it's an out-of-the-box application that puts a framework around managing improvement initiatives that we've focused on from an organizational perspective. All of these capabilities available in that Pro SKU, they complement one another. You can roll them out individually, but ultimately they're going to start to come back together, and that's why we've bundled them together for you as our customers. That was an intro to those capabilities that we offer with the professional bundle. I'm sure we've been taking questions. I've tried to keep it quick so we have some time here. Obviously, we can do deeper dives in each and every one of those areas, but if you've got some questions, then now's the time to ask them.
The queue is actually clear at this point. So if anyone does have any questions, if they want to stay a minute here and drop them in, so we'll just give it a second here. All right, while we wait for a minute, I just wanted to thank everyone for joining. We really appreciate you taking the time out. And also a big thanks to Dan Grady and team for presenting today. It was fantastic, Dan. So if there are not any questions, we can go ahead and close out this. Oh, looks like there is one that just came in. Is this an additional charge? This is an additional charge from a licensing perspective. We actually have a couple coming in here. So this is an additional charge to the to your current licensing model, and we can work together with you and your sales rep to provide what that would look like. Is virtual agent only as good as the team deploying or supporting it? No. So virtual agents will continue to get better, right? And as Dan had mentioned earlier, not only are we, obviously have the capabilities to gather all the data and analytics that's behind the scenes for what folks are asking for, we can also implement the component of machine learning, which again is learning and allowing us to continue to enhance the capabilities. And I think it's also important to note that this is a very large area of investment for ServiceNow. So we'll just continue to get better over the course of the next, many releases to come. Any other questions? It looks like we are now clear. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We really appreciate it. And we will make sure to get a copy of this recording out to everyone who joined. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
I had 3 more minutes. I could have shown 1 more thing. You're still in.